Hi, I'm Carol, Saltbox Stitcher, and I'm here to show you some holiday quilts. I'm going to start with fall, and then I'll go into Christmas quilts. So a couple of these are Christmas quilts, and so, whoa, here and here. Okay, so this is quilt video number 5. So I have a lot of quilts to show you, and I'm really just going to do a parade. Years ago when I first started quilting, I had no idea that I would eventually show them on a video. So did I keep track of the pattern names? No, I didn't. Nor did I keep track of the lines. Some of the more recent ones I might know, but we'll just see as we go along. Hold on. Oh, I got to be mindful today. I just love all these things that come on my watch. Okay, turned all that off. So it's December, no, it's not December, it's November 29th. And this weekend, hopefully we're going to get our tree decorated. You can see we have our tree, but it's not decorated yet. So I'm going to try to get out the decorations and get started on all that today. And hopefully by Saturday, I will be ready to do another stitchy video. So I showed you mini quilts last time, and a lot of what is right here on the ladder are mini quilts. So I'm not really going to talk about those. So if you have a desire to know what they are, just go back and watch the last quilt video, which would have been quilt video number 4. So let's get started with fall quilts. And they're in no particular order, not necessarily by size. If I know the designer, I will tell you. This one I did years ago. This was in a magazine. This is a Jan Paddock quilt. And I actually hand quilted it, which I don't do very much anymore. Hand appliqued and hand quilted. And I know, okay, I'm going to have to lower it when I talk because otherwise you're not going to hear me. I know it was in a magazine. And it looks like it has a spot on it that I need to wash. Anyway. It has the 4 pumpkins, and I just did crosshatch quilting on it. It's fall, kind of Halloween, because it does have a black cat and jack-o'-lanterns. But I did that years ago, probably in the 90s. The next one, this is a country threads pattern. I think I might have shown you this when I did my mini quilts. I don't know if it's called Acorns and Leaves or what it's called, but I know it's a country threads pattern. And I believe I had a kit for it. This one is very bright. This one I did years and years and years ago. I still put it out. It's a little bit brighter than the quilts I do now. It has cute little pumpkins on the back. The next one I'll show you, this is, sometimes I just use quilts that are fall colors and not necessarily fall themed. This particular one is a I know it's a Joe Morton pattern, and I used all Joe Morton fabrics. Go that way a little bit, okay. So it's just, it's very lightweight. I used a really lightweight batting when I made it, and it's all browns and various colors. So I put that out every fall. This is another one. This is a Joe Morton, and I think it's called Hearthside Stars, and I think it's been, the book has been discontinued. I looked and looked for it for somebody, and the stars are fussy cut from her fabric, and the black solid is actually the wrong side. of the black print. And it's gold. Sometimes it appears orange, but it's gold. But I know it's a Joe Morton, and I think it's called Hearthside Stars. This is, let me show you this one first. This is a quilt. I used to make a lot of this pattern when I taught at the store because it's a great beginner quilt. This is Sandy Gervais fabric, which is Brenda Gervais' sister. And the pattern is Yellow Brick Road by Atkinson Designs. It's a great beginning quilt. And Sandy Gervais used to design for Moda, so this was a Moda line by Sandy Gervais. And it has all fall themed prints, pumpkins, leaves. But it makes a nice lap size quilt. This is another one that I did. I made this a couple years ago, more recently, but I can't remember whose pattern it is. Pumpkins and stars, but like I said, I can't remember exactly whose pattern. That's the top half. Here's the bottom half. So it has two white pumpkins. I don't think the pattern had white pumpkins, but I added a couple just for interest. I don't know if I showed you this one last time. This is a Country Threads pattern called Pumpkin Patch. Pumpkin Patch by Country Threads. This one was made for me when we used to do quilt exchanges at one of the quilt shops I worked at. Let's see if it's right side up. Nope. It's a bear claw pattern, and it has different things: a crow, a flag, a bee skep. That was made by Nancy Verasso years ago. This is one, I think, let me think. So Primitive Gatherings used to be, they had a different name. And this is one that we had kits at the store that I worked at, and this was Pumpkins and Gourds. What was the name of her company before that? So I had the kit, but I just finished it within the last few years. Pumpkins and Gourds. This, I'm not sure the pattern. It may have been a Moda free pattern. I'm not sure. I think most of this was Kansas Troubles fabric. Whoa. This one's pretty big. All blacks and golds. And the last one I'm going to show you is this is a blackbird pattern. I don't remember the name of it. There's a cross stitch pattern very similar. So I'll show you this in two parts. And it was a sample for the store because we had kits. So the top half is the stars and the vine at the top. And then the bottom half is the house with the moon and the cat. Go up a little bit. There you go. And then there's more stars at the bottom. It's a pretty big quilt. It's almost a queen size. I would have loved to have done hand applique on that, but I had a deadline, so I had to do machine applique. And then there's another one that I haven't finished that I started last year and I finished it this year. This is a country sampler pattern that I need to quilt, but I won't quilt it till next year. This one is called Corn Maze. When I bought it, I bought the kit from Country Sampler. No, I didn't. I bought the border fabric and then I used my own fabrics. Corn Maze by Country Sampler. And that's the backing. At the end of this video, I'm going to do the giveaway for this book by Red Crinoline Quilts that I was gifted. I was gifted one and one to give away. So this is a wonderful book, and if you win it, you may want to call Country Sampler, or if you want to buy the quilt, they have this. Hold please. I think this is the quilt. It's either this one, it's one of them in here that they have kits for this year. So I'm pretty sure it's this one with the baskets. It's called Bountiful Baskets. It's a mini quilt. Okay, now I'm ready to show you Christmas. So I'm gonna pause for just a second and get the Christmas quilts out. Hi, I'm back. We had to do a little set rearranging to get out the Christmas ones. I have a lot more Christmas than I do fall because a lot of my quilts are dark anyway that I do just regular quilts, so I don't make as many fall. Plus you have to realize we don't really have fall here till after Christmas, and then I'm not really wanting to put up gold and orange and brown quilts. But anyway, so these are Christmas. I apologize again that I don't know the name of a lot of these, but it's just a parade, so just enjoy the parade. Okay, the first one that I have that I want to show you is a wall hanging that I did years ago, and there were a number of us that did this same one. I'm thinking it might be Primitive Gatherings used to be called backyard quilts, and I think it might have been a backyard quilts. Either that or it's a Jan Paddock, I'm not sure. It makes a great table runner. So I have that one. The next one I want to show you is one of my very favorite. Sorry, something dropped on the floor. My very favorite. This one I made in the 90s, early 90s, mid 90s. For years I had not finished the final border. 2 or 3 years ago I got it out and I thought I have to finish the border, so I finished the border. Then another year went by and I thought, oh, I really need to quilt this. So last year I finally quilted it and sewed the binding on, and now I still have to hand sew the binding down, but it will get finished this year. And this is my Santa quilt. This was a block of the month that we did when I worked at the first quilt shop I worked at. Let me see if it's huge. That's the first half. Hold it about here. where the break is a little bit. It's all Santa's. It has applique, it has piecing. Let's show the very bottom. It's in traditional quilt color, or traditional Christmas colors. I always thought it was funny because the gal that taught it, this is a set of patterns. It's not, we had to buy the pattern and then we got the fabric. We paid for the fabric separately. So, like this pattern might be one designer, this pattern might be another designer. And in here, is it this one? One of them, there's a pocket. No, that's his mitt. Anyway, one of the Santas, the bag is like open like a pocket. And the gal that taught the class said that was for our husband to put a diamond ring in. But until I get it bound, what can I can't expect a diamond in it until I get it all done. But I decided to bind it in black. It has a very, very dark green check for the border. And then the backing is this. I don't usually use any kind of metallic, but it has gold metallic on the back. Or it's red plaid with gold metallic. So that's the biggest Christmas quilt that I've done. And that was years ago. In fact, for a long time I couldn't find the border instructions, and I knew the whole thing was in a book. I couldn't find it. And I asked different people and they were like, oh yeah, I gave that quilt away years ago. I'm like, well, I haven't even finished mine. This is a little, I think this was a little quilt. I had a kit. This is another one that I use on tables or whatever. Those trees. This is a Thimbleberries pattern from years ago. Hold on. And it really looks nice above my couch. You hold that side. It has reindeer at the bottom and then the stars and then the trees on the side. And it's just sawtooth. And that's a Thimbleberries pattern. I made that years ago. Just throw them on the long arm. This is another one that I made probably in the 90s. Has houses, trees. This is one that I made. I know my microphone's in the way, but you'll have to excuse. This was a Country Threads pattern. I had the kit for years and I finally made it last year. The trees and the cardinals. But I recently moved this cabinet here, so a quilt like this I could also put hanging on a door, on a cabinet. This is what I have to do this week, all this designing. I'm going to wait to show this one. So, I'll talk about that in a second. This is one I made last year. I think I had started it the year before. This is a Primitive Pieces by Linda. Oops. It's all with brushed and, not flannel, but brushed fabrics. And it has the stocking along the side. I love her designs, but her patterns are done old school templates, and you have to add the seam allowances. Yeah. So you can see the bottom of the stocking. Sorry. These are not easy to show. This one's kind of heavy too. So that one I made last year, and I love it. It's one of my favorites that I've ever done. This is a wool piece that I did few years ago. I think it needs some patching, but it's a tree skirt. I don't always put it around our big tree because it's kind of small, but it fits good around a secondary tree. Has a Santa. It says Happy Holidays. Oh, Santa, and then all the wool pennies around the edge. So I did that all by hand, and that's all wool. This is a Miss Rosie pattern. I think it might be called Peppermint Swirl or something like that. I actually made 2 of these. I gave one to my sister. But I love it because the half square triangles and then just the squares, it almost does look like those peppermint candies.
The binding.
And the binding being the stripe on the bias gives it that peppermint. And the funny thing about this, where's the side? I didn't quite have a big enough backing, so I had to add a little tiny piece on for the backing. Kind of looks goofy, but nobody looks at the back anyway. This one's a fairly big quilt, and I did this years ago too. It's not one of my favorites, but I believe we had kits for this at the store. It has black around the edge with wool applique. I think what I don't like is this fabric here for the setting along the edge. But there's birds. Oh, I guess it goes this way. Hold on. So that the birds aren't upside down. So the birds either face out or they face up. And it's just a Irish chain. But you can see I have a little bit of issue here with fading, red fading. And somebody recently told me that new good fabrics don't fade, but they do. So I was in the process, and I'll show you a little bit what I'm making. Yesterday, I've been making a Christmas quilt, and it has red, and it's a good quilt quality red by a well-known company. And when I was ironing and using some spray starch, it bled. The red bled everywhere. So I've tried Retain, I've tried color grabbers, hopefully, because I do wash my quilts. So, and that's what happened to this one. This is an Ocean Waves quilt. It has a lot of half square triangles, and you can see there's some places where it's pink instead of red. I still love it, and I use red and white quilts a lot for my Christmas decorating. I don't use red and white quilts normally. They're mostly, I save them for Christmas. But you can see there's certain fabrics, and this I sort of accepted because some of these are older fabrics. They're all quilt shop quality. I don't buy cheap fabrics. And I always worked at a quilt shop, so I was able to get fabrics at a discount. So I kind of thought, okay, some of those were older pieces, but it's kind of disheartening when you wash something and then it bleeds. And it's really not the bleeding, it's the picking up of the color on the lighter pieces. So, anyway, this was a gift, and this kind of started my whole red and white quilt journey. I got this years ago in a quilt exchange. It's not big, and I love to put it on the table at Christmas time because the white background and the red binding next to the wood table just really looks pretty. So that's why I've kind of been doing a lot of red and white quilts. This one is really old. And this was a, let's see, this one hasn't faded, so it's just hard to predict. And I don't normally pre-wash my fabric because sometimes I get a kit, you know, and you might only have small pieces. But this is a, oh, what's the name of this? I can't remember the name of this block. Twisted something. But this is a print with ice skaters. And I don't normally do this kind of brighter tealy green, but I was matching the print with the skaters. So this is a nice one to roll up and put in a basket. Okay, the next one I'll show you. I actually found the pattern for this one. This one is called Peaceful Nights. It's called a sampler quilt. And this is this was a block of the month, I believe. Yes, it was a block of the month that we did at the store. It's by Lori Smith from My Heart to Your Hands. It was really fun because there's a lot of really fun piecing in here. Peaceful Nights, a sampler quilt by Lori Smith. So here is this one. And it does have other colors. It's not specifically a Christmas quilt, but I use it as a Christmas quilt. I love it. I love the medallion center. I love the pieced setting triangles. So that was a fun one to make. And that one did not run, so it's kind of hard to predict. This one is really old. This is an Atkinson design. I think it's called Spring Fever, Spring Cabin, Spring something. And my friends are yelling at me because we all made a bunch of these. But it's by Atkinson Designs. She did a lot of books. I don't know if she's still designing or not. She's the same one that did Yellow Brick Road. And it's not specifically Christmas fabric, but it's all reds and greens. I think originally that was a Robin Pandolph print. Oh, this is a fun one that I made years ago and I just quilted it last year. So again, it's a Country Threads pattern. Helps if I show it right side up. It's a snowman. And this one again is a nice one to hang like on a door. Sometimes I hang things on the back of the quilt cabinet door. I think it's a Country Threads pattern. This is another, no it isn't. This isn't a book. 3 Color Quilts is the name of the book. And literally you get 3 fabrics and then you just change up the different blocks. And this also was a Christmas line with the stripe, the red, and the little stars. Oh, the back is hats and mittens. I have a lot of Christmas quilts. I'll show you 3 that are country sampler patterns. There's this one with the baskets. I've looked and I can't find the name of the pattern. And this one with the pinwheels. This I got as a kit from Country Sampler. I finished this one last year. This one I had finished, so I think this is a couple years old. And I actually got a kit and decided not to use the fabrics in the kit. Because the kit had a lot of pinks for the basket and I didn't want pinks, so I used my own fabric. And there again, this one did not run, so how can you predict? I don't know. And then this one is a Country Threads pattern. that I got a kit for years ago. I'd say within the last 5 years, though. It's got a big thread on it, but I love this one because it's that poison green. It's a very fun quilt with the blacks, the reds, and the poison green. And I like the reverse where you have dark, light, light, dark, because then it makes each block look almost a little different. Oh my gosh, this one is so old. I can't remember the name of this block. Those of you that are quilters are hollering at me. I'm not sure who this pattern was by. Is this a Burgoyne Surrounded? Maybe. It's old. The backing is just names of different quilt blocks. And this one's fairly big. This one I usually put under the tree. Instead of a tree skirt, I just put it under the tree. He's still coming. So this one I made last year and I've not washed it because I'm afraid. First of all, here's the backing fabric, which is a Christmas toile, like greeting cards. And then this is the front. And it has a lot of white that I don't want to be pink. So this one has not been washed. This is a fairly big quilt. It has threads on it. When you have a white and red quilt like this, the color thread to use, you can either use red or you could use white. If you use red, it's going to show up on all your whites. So I choose to use like a creamy colored thread. But this is a fun quilt. I just don't want to wash it. Maybe at some point. This is the last one? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, I have some here. So if I figure out the name of this quilt, or this one is Pinwheel something, and I had enough blocks out of this that I'm going to make a mini quilt too. This is Kansas Troubles fabric, I'm thinking. Maybe not, I don't know. Maybe it's Three Sisters, an old Three Sisters line. But the pattern was a Moda freebie. It's like stars and chain, 4 patches. And the back, I used a black and white houndstooth, which I love this quilt. Some I love, some I'm okay with, but this one again is a pretty big quilt. And then I have a few more here. I showed that one. Did I show this one? No, I didn't show this one, did I? No. This is another Atkinson design. Did I show this one? I don't think so. And this is all the same block, but depending on where you put your lights and darks and mediums, the blocks look totally different. But it's all the same block. So like this one and this one look alike, but the third one does not look like it at all, which makes it really interesting. It's an Atkinson design, I know that. I have a few more. This is another red and white one. I just used and made just a 1 patch, but I did have some fading on this one too. When I used to have a top-loading wash machine, I would put salt and vinegar, use cold water. It's hard to wash in cold water here though, because 9 times out of 10, your water's not cold, unless it's January and it's 40 degrees outside, which sometimes. I guess I ought to wait and wash all my quilts in January. Anyway, it's just a 1 patch with a toile on the back. But I love red and white quilts like that. This is an old Thimbleberries, really old. Just a house, stars, really old. But you know, you just kind of can't get rid of them. Oh, this was an old panel, I think. Yeah, this is an old Debbie Mum. That's really old. That's like ancient history, old school. Same with this one. This one's also a Debbie Mum. And I think I was supposed to put buttons on them. The different, and this one I usually hang in my long arm room. They're cute, cutesy. Here's another one that was a Debbie Mum. All the Santas. Now this one I did put the buttons, because there's buttons on the hat and buttons for the eyes. The last one I want to show you, because I have so many red and white, last year I decided I wanted to do a green and white Irish chain. So I did this one, and I'm working on finishing the binding. I have it partway done. So somewhere in here there's a needle, because literally I was working on it yesterday. See, I have my binding clips.
Oh, yeah.
So it has, I'll just show you half because it's the same. It has a Thimbleberries, it's like fern leaves for the border. So my idea is to put the green and white on, I have a quilt bar over there, and then on top of it a smaller red and white. I think that'd be pretty. Watch out, there's a needle in that one.
Ouch!
You didn't touch the needle. I think that's all I have. I'm gonna, oh wait, I have 2 more things I'm working on that I can show you. And I don't know what I did. I had the pattern out here. It's a pattern by Betsy Chuchian. Oh, here it is. It's called Evelyn's Flower Basket. It has like a green toile as the setting squares, and then you have enough left over to do this little pinwheel quilt of your half square triangles. So this is my setting squares, which is kind of hard to see, but it's little squiggly trees. Let's see if I can wear it to show you. And then it has the 12 baskets, like so. And then it'll have a red border. And it's not huge. It ends up being 37.5 by 46.5. So it'll be a nice size to put like over the back of a chair. So I'm hoping to get that one done. Like I said, I'm in the process of piecing it, and then I realized some of my reds were going to bleed, and that was not making me happy. And then this one, I made it last year. This is from a book called Potluck by Joined at the Hip. I think the only picture of it is on the back. So here it is, right here. It's a Santa and trees. It's kind of long, skinny, and I'm in the process of putting the tree branches on. This one I haven't done yet, so it's pinned. Well, it was pinned. Anyway. Oh. And then I'll just probably put little buttons or something for Santa's eyes. So I hope to finish this one this year too. This one's a little more primitive. This was also a kit. I used to go to a shop in Kansas City that has long since closed. It was called Rustic Yearnings. It was very primitive. They had all kinds of accessories, and then they had a huge quilting department, and I'm sure I got that kit there. And I have some green and tan ticking that I'm going to use on the back of that. I think that's all I have. I'm going to pause for just a minute because I need to do the quilt book giveaway, and the keyword was treasure, and so I'll be right back. Okay, the winner is Terry at the Old Needle Shop. So Terry, send me a private message or an email, and I'll put my email in the drop down box, description box below, whatever people call it, and you will get this so I can get your information, and I will send you this book. So congratulations, Terry at the Old Needle Shop. You have this, you're the one who gets the book. So anyway, I think that's all I have. I have a lot of decorating to do. And I thank you to everybody who watched my stitching video and enjoyed the gobble gobble. That was a surprise to me. So he always has stuff up his sleeves, but I try not to encourage him, you know. We had a great 40th anniversary, and so I thank you also for everybody that wished us a happy anniversary. So that's all I have, and I hope you have a great day, and I will see you on Saturday. Actually, I don't see you, you see me, but that's what we say. So love ya, bye.